Isa pong pinagpalang araw sa inyong lahat ng aking muling pinapaabot. Maraming salamat po sa inyong patuloy na ah, pagsubaybay at pakikipag-aralan ng salita ng Diyos sa pamamagitan ng social media platform na ito, Maniwala Facebook Live at gayon din po sa pamamagitan ng YouTube. Welcome po sa inyong lahat. Pag-usapan po natin sa araw na ito yung paksa na tinatawag na The Incarnation, ang pagkakatawang tao. And this is a two-part series po at let's talk about part one of The Incarnation, ang pagkakatawang tao. Ang isa pong highlight ng Christmas season is the truth about the Incarnation. At, hindi po natin maisasangtabi ang kahalagahan ng pagkakatawang tao, lalo tigit ng ating Panginoong Kristo. Subalit sa pagpapasimula po ay let us define some terms as we embark in this topic, in this discussion. Atin pong i-define yung the incarnation, yung incarnation at saka yung pong incarnational. First of all, let's define the incarnation. Well, yung pong de-incarnation with the definite article D, it is the classical doctrine that says that the eternal Son of God took flesh from his human mother. Hence, the person known as Jesus of Nazareth was and is at once fully human and truly divine. Ito po yung definition, ito po yung paliwanag, kaunawaan sa tinatawag nating the incarnation. Ang eternal Son of God, nagkatawang tao, he took flesh from his human mother at siya po yung Jesus of Nazareth, fully human and fully divine. That is the definition of the incarnation. Meron po naman tayong gustong liwanagin na ito po naman ay incarnation na wala pong article. And the term incarnation without the definite article is to be understood generally as any event where the divine beings assume physical or material forms. Meron po kasing ibang relihiyon na di umano'y nagtuturo din sila ng incarnation, pero ito po yung incarnation na naniniwala po sila na nakikipagniig ang kanilang Diyos sa sangkatauhan. Nakikipag-ugnay ang kanilang Diyos at nakikiisa sa sangkatauhan. Meron po ito sa Japanese religion at meron pong ilang mga relihiyon na meron din po silang incarnation, hindi nga lamang po eksaktong kagaya ng classical doctrine of the Christian doctrine of incarnation. Meron pa po tayong isang dapat liwanagin sapagkat ito po yung magiging bahagi ng ating pag-aaral sa panahong ito, yung pong tinatawag nating incarnational. Now, kapag po naman sinabi natin incarnational, it is another essential word which can be used to describe the mission or the work of God in the world. Kapag po natin yung incarnational or minsan ay meron pa tinatawag na incarnational mission, meron din po incarnational theology, ito po naman yung paggawa ng Diyos, pagkilos ng Diyos sa sanlibutan, the missio Dei, the mission of God in the world. And so the word incarnational functions here as an adjective, pangtukoy. Yung pong salitang incarnational ay pangtukoy, ipinapaliwanag, ipinapakita, inilalarawan ang misyon ng iglesia, ng Diyos sa pamamagitan ng iglesia. Paglalarawan ng misyon ng Diyos sa pamamagitan ng iglesia. Yan po yung tinatawag nating incarnational. Now, ito pong two-part series natin ng pagtalakay sa the incarnation ay una po ating uunawain yung part 1, sa part 1 yung the incarnation mismo. Now, please understand po na I will not be talking the classical doctrine of the incarnation, kundi I will be dealing more of what Christ has done sa incarnation. Papaano siya bumaba mula sa langit patungo sa lupa at anong kanyang ginawa. At ito po ang aking approach sa pag-aaral na ito so that we can connect part 1 and part 2 sapagkat sa pangalawa po ay sa part 2 ng paksa natin ito, we will see how the incarnation can be a guide and a model for the church to function in the world, na kung paano nag-function ang ating Panginoong Kristo nung siya'y narito sa lupa. I think we will be challenging the churches to function in the world just like what Jesus did. Kaya ito nga po yung pag-uugnay natin sa part 1, ano ang ginawa ng ating Panginoong Kristo, papaano siya nagkatawan tao, ano ang kanyang naging misyon, ano ang naging function ng incarnation para po sa freedom and salvation ng sangkatauhan. And so the word incarnation, for our information po mga kapatid, it really comes from the Latin word carne, which is flesh or in flesh. And the word incarnation, yung pagkakatawan tao, ang ibig pong sabihin nito, yung pong with the definite article na the incarnation is the enfleshing of God. So, yun po yung pinagmulan at pinag-ugatan ng salitang incarnation, the carne, the flesh, or in flesh, or the enfleshing of God. At ito po yung makikita natin na maliwanag sa John chapter 1 at ang sabi nga po sa John 1 and 14 ay ganito. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. Kinakailangan pong maging maliwanag sa atin mga kapatid na the incarnation means that God became a human being. God became a human being. Nagkatawan tao ang Diyos. Ang berbo ay nagkatawan tao. Be aware po that to become a human being does not mean to appear o magpakita as a human being. No, hindi po yun. Incarnation is not to appear as a human being. Ganon din po mga kapatid, ang incarnation ay hindi to manifest, magpakahayag as a human being. Mahina po ang salitang to appear as a human being at gayon din po, it is also a weak word. Hindi po consistent to the truth. Yung salitang to manifest o magpakahayag as a human being. The word incarnation, yung po natawag nating God in the flesh, ay He became, He took the form, He became, at siya'y nagkatawang tao at nagkatawang tao ang berbo. So, hindi po lamang ito appearing, hindi po lamang ito manifesting, but becoming. God became man, and as such, He, in Jesus, appeared to be a man, became man, and appeared to be a man, and manifested as a man. Kaya po nagkaroon ng appearance at nagkaroon ng manifestation is because God became a man. nagkatawan tao ang Diyos, ang Berbo. Kaya maging maliwanag po ito mga kapatid kasi iba pong paniniwala yung that God manifested in the flesh or appeared in the flesh. Appearing and manifesting as a man will not take place, take note, without becoming, that's the big word, without becoming a man in the first place. Becoming, then the appearing, and the manifesting. Now, meron pong sinasabi ang ilan, and we are aware that the cults, ang mga cults po ay hindi tatanggapin yung ating paniniwala at pagtuturo na about the incarnation. As some cults would say, if we insist on God becoming a man, this is what we should say. Ito po yung sinasabi nila at kino-quote nilang scripture na kapag pinipilit natin na ang Diyos daw po ay nagkatawan tao, tao ay ito daw po yung sinasabi na hindi puwedeng, God cannot become a man. God cannot have that teaching na tinuturo ng maraming mga evangelicals na incarnation kasi ito po yung binabasa nila. Numbers 23:19. Ito po yung binabasa nila. God is not man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should change his mind. Has he said, and will he not do it? Or has he spoken, and will he not fulfill it? Ito raw po yung pagbabawal ng Biblia upang upang ang Diyos ay maging magkatawang tao. God is not man. Now, obviously po ay misquoted po ang talata na ginamit, 23:19. Hindi po sinasabing hindi kaya ng Diyos na magkatawang tao at hindi lumagay sa katawang tao. Ang sinasabi po dito ay kung ang tao ay nagsisinungaling, ang Diyos ay hindi kagaya ng tao na makakapagsinungaling because God is always faithful to His word. So mali po yung konteksto na God cannot be a man or God cannot take the form of a man at gagamitin ng talatang mga bilang 23:19 upang patunayan ang kanilang puntos. Na sabi nga po sa Tagalog ay ang Diyos ay hindi tao na magsisinungaling, ni anak ng tao na magsisisi. Sinasabi ba niya at hindi niya gagawin o sinasalita ba niya at hindi niya isasagawa? Kita po niyo ang konteksto, yung pagsasalita na kapag ba nagsalita ang Diyos ay hindi niya isasagawa. Sapagkat ang Diyos ay hindi tao na magsisinungaling. Ang tao nagsisinungaling, ang tao nakakapagsinungaling, ang Diyos hindi tao na magsisinungaling. This does not talk about the nature of God. Again, this verse does not talk about the nature of God, but the characteristics or the characteristic of God who cannot lie. Noon pa man po mga kapatid sa the Council of Chalcedon ay naituro na po ang kahalagahan at ang katotohanan ng incarnation. That Jesus is one person, but two natures. The two natures never diminish at all. Hindi po ito nababawasan, hindi nagkukulang, hindi natatapiasan yung dalawang kalikasan ng Diyos. One person, two natures. And the two natures are equal. Magkapantay po ang dalawang kalikasan ng Diyos, fully God, fully man, in that no one is taking advantage of or giving way to the other, so to speak. Walang nanlalamang sa dalawang nature na ito ng Diyos, fully God, fully human, at walang bumibigay The better word is hypostatic union. Ito po yung ginagamit ng mga theologian, that they are equal, the two natures never diminish, the two natures are equal in that no one is taking advantage of or giving way to the other. At ang sabi nga po, ang definition po ng hypostatic union, the two natures are so combined that one cannot have one half God and one half man. Hindi po pwedeng one half God and one half man, kundi ang itinuturo po kung sino si Jesus na nagkatawang tao, He is fully God and fully man. May sinabi rin po mga kapatid ang Biblia sa Pilipos 2:5-7. Ang sabi po ganito, have this mind among yourselves which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. Now, gusto ko pong i-highlight ito, pansamantala yung tinatawag nating emptying himself. What did God empty himself of? Ano yung inempty niya? The attributes of God are intact, and it will always be intact, and it will remain to be intact. Now, yung pong salitang he emptied himself ay idiomatic expression. And the other way of saying that is he became a nobody himself. That God became a nobody. He chose to become a nobody himself. The real idea po dito is self-emptying, not considering himself but becoming a nobody himself. Yun po yung isang kahulugan ng emptying himself. And another interesting insight po ng word na emptying himself is the idea of adding humanity and imposing self-limitation. Hindi po siya nahubaran ng kanyang pagiging Diyos. Nang sabihin ng Biblia na he emptied himself, it cannot and will not refer to the laying down of his divinity. Hindi po niya ilelay down, hindi po niya ibababa ang kanyang divinity, for if it happened, kapag he emptied himself of divinity, then he stopped to be God. And it cannot happen. Hindi po pwede he emptied himself with his divinity. Kaya po, yung pong emptying himself ay it speaks of self-emptying. It means that he became a nobody himself. He took the form of a servant and he added kinoo. He added humanity and imposed self-limitation. So he gave himself, ibinigay niya ang kanyang sarili para sa katubusan ng sanlibutan. So he gave himself for what? Para sa ano? Anong layunin ng pagkakatabang tao ng eternal logos? Para po saan ito? Well, I think it is very clear kung para saan ang pagkakatabang tao ng eternal logos. Hebrews chapter 2 verses 14 and 15. Ito po ang sinasabi sa atin. Dahil sa mga anak ay mga may bahagi sa laman at dugo, siya na may gayon ding nakabahagi sa mga ito, upang sa pamamagitan ng kamatayan ay kanyang malipol yaong may paghahari sa kamatayan. Sa makatuwid ay ang diablo, at mailigtas silang lahat na dahil sa takot sa kamatayan ay nangasa ilalim ng pagkaalipin sa buong buhay nila. This is the reason why Jesus came, the incarnation. This is the bottom line. Siya naman naging gayon, gayon ding makabahagi, makabahagi ng ano po, sa laman at dugo. Bakit po? Bakit po siya nakibahagi o nagkaroon ng bahagi? It is defined why. Sinabi sa atin kung bakit. Upang sa pamamagitan ng kamatayan ay kanyang malipol yung may paghahari sa kamatayan. So he can defeat the enemy. So he can defeat Satan. So he can defeat yung pong naging dahilan ng ating kamatayan, which is our sin and the devil and our choice, our decisions. We gave in and we decided to disobey God. So ito po, ipinigay niya ang kanyang sarili na kamatayan para sa atin na mga nangamatay sa kasalanan. And you know what? Jesus is sinless. He did not commit a sin. Sa kanyang incarnation, siya po ay hindi nagkasala. At ang tinatanong nga po ng marami ay ganito, kung si Jesus ay hindi nagkasala, how can Jesus identify with human beings if he did not sin? Akala ko ba kaya siya naparito ay upang makabahagi, upang makiisa, upang mailigtas tayong lahat. Kung siya ay hindi makasalanan, papaano magkakaroon ng tinatawag na identity, o how can God identify, how can Jesus identify with human beings? Eh, siya naman hindi siya nagkasala. Ang assumption po dito mga kapatid is, Jesus must have an original sin to be human. May mga naniniwala po na Jesus must have an original sin to be human. Upang talagang maka-identify siya sa atin. And this is wrong. Hindi po kinakailangang magkaroon ng original sin si Jesus upang maka-identify siya sa atin. Kaya siya nagkatawang tao so he can go down to our level and identify himself with us and die for our sin. At ang assumption ng iba, abay, may original sin dapat si Jesus. Well, this is wrong. Sabi ko nga po, ito'y mali. Ang mali po ang assumption. Bakit? Meron po kasi tayong isang kasabihan na ganito. To err is human and to forgive is divine. Unfortunately, mali po yung lalatigit yung unang statement, to err is human. To commit an error is human. Kapag tao ka, magkakamali ka, magkakasala ka, you are bound to commit an error. Well, originally, hindi po tayo ganun. God created us good, very good. We were functioning the way we should. And it is not true that to err is human. Sapagkat ako'y tao lamang, ako'y magkakasala. It is improper to say that to be human is to sin. God did not create human to sin. To commit sin or sinning is not a part of being human. And therefore, yung assumption po ng iba na Jesus must have an original sin to be human is wrong. Because to commit sin or sinning is a choice. Ito'y pagpili. Kagaya nga po ng ginawa ng ating mga magulang, ni Eva at ni Adan, it was a choice they made. To sin is a choice. Nasabi nga po ng Hebreo 4:15 ay ganito. Kaya si Jesus ay walang pagkakasala. Maliwanag po ang sinabi ng Hebreo 4:15, sapagkat tayo walang isang dakilang saserdote na hindi maaaring mahapag sa ating kahinaan, kundi isa na tinukso sa lahat ng mga paraan, kaya rin naman natin gayunmay walang kasalanan. Walang kasalanan. This is where we can see the fact that Jesus is sinless in His incarnation. Sa kanyang pagkakatawang tao, si Jesus ay hindi nag-commit ng pagkakasala. Tinukso sa lahat ng mga paraan, gayunmay walang kasalanan. This is a testimony of the scripture that Jesus is sinless. Si Jesus ay hindi nagkasala at hindi magkakasala because it is against the nature of God. God is holy. God cannot sin. And Jesus is fully God, fully man, and because he is fully God, he cannot and he will not sin. It is against his nature. Kaya dahilan po sa si Jesus ay sinless, Jesus is the only qualified being to save sinners from sin. Kaya nga po siya yung nag-incarnation. Siya yung nag-incarnate. Siya po yung nagkatawang tao, the eternal Son of God, because Jesus, He alone is a qualified being to save sinners. For two reasons. Jesus is perfect. And secondly, Jesus offers the perfect sacrifice. Dalawang bagay kung bakit po siyang qualified to save sinners because Jesus is perfect and Jesus offers the perfect sacrifice. Now, meron pong bumabalot sa incarnation kay Jesus Christ na gawain. Meron po siyang dalawang gawain, if I may say that, na kanyang ginawa habang siya po ay nasa katawang tao. John 1:1, John 1:14. At hayaan po niyong ipakita ko sa inyo kung ano ang kanyang ang kanyang naging tungkulin, dalawang naging gawain ng ating Panginoong Hesus sa kanyang incarnation, sa kanyang pagkakatawang tao. Mateo 4:23. Ano po ang sinabi? This is the summary of Jesus's ministry. At nilibot ni Jesus ang buong Galilea na nagtuturo sa mga sinagoga. Nagtuturo sa mga sinagoga nila. At, listen, ipinapangaral ang ebanghelyo ng kaharian at nagpapagaling sa lahat ng sakit at ng lahat ng karamdaman na nasa mga tao. This was what Jesus was doing. Ito po yung summary of what Jesus did. Ipinapangaral ang ebanghelyo, number one, good news. At nagpapagaling ng lahat ng sakit at ng lahat ng karamdaman, good works. So there was the good news that Jesus was proclaiming, and there was the good works that Jesus was doing. Sa incarnation, mga kapatid, sa pagkakatawang tao ng ating Panginoong Yesus, dalawang function ang makikita natin. Si Jesus ay nangaral, si Jesus ay nagpagaling. He proclaimed the good news, and he also demonstrated good works. Dalawang bagay na hindi mapaghiwalay kay Jesus. Alam po niyo, the incarnation of the Logos can be seen in three ways. Number one, yung pong tinatawag nating identification, the identification of Jesus. And this is the feeling side, yung kanyang pagdama, yung kanyang pakikidama. Naroon din po sa the incarnation of the Logos, yung participation, yung pagdamay, yung pakikisangkot, yung pagsali. At hindi lamang po ang identification, hindi po lamang ang participation, kundi naroon din po yung pangatlo, yung kanyang action. Makikita po niyo ang balangkas ng incarnation, yung identification, participation, and action. Ang nagkatawang tao na si Jesus ay he identified with the people, he participated with the lives of the marginalized of the people, and he acted. He did something for them. Pag-usapan po natin yung identification, which is one of the highlights of the incarnation of the Logos. Yung pong identification, Jesus was shown and he identified himself. He gave his feeling and his emotion. Sabi nga po, if anyone aims to effect a real and transformation in another person's life, he or she must identify themselves with the people they serve. Kung gusto mong maramdaman ng tao yung iyong paglilingkod, you must identify yourself with the people you serve. Identify. Kinakailangan you must be in solidarity with them. Kinakailangan solid kayong dalawa. Kinakailangan may bibigkis sa inyong dalawa. Becoming one with people, identifying with people, identification, being with someone enables them and you to build trust, to build and to earn the right to be heard. Yung pong napakahalaga yung tinatawag nating identification, yung feeling side. Yung I am here, nakikidama ako sa iyo. Because that is really one of the highlights of the incarnation of the Logos, identification, the feeling side. And this is important in the ministry of the church. Tingnan po yung ginawa ng ating Panginoong Jesus. Mateo 9:35-36. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom and healing every disease and sickness. Maliwanag po yan, no? Naroon uli yung teaching in the synagogues and proclaiming the good news and ano po, healing. Healing every disease. Good works, good news, good news, good works. At ito pa po ang sinabi, verse 36. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Gusto ko pong bigyan natin yung pangalawang binanggit ko sa inyo yung sa verse 36 ng Matthew chapter 9. He had compassion on them. Ito po yung identification. Ito po yung pakikidama sa mga taong nasasaktan, sa mga taong harassed and helpless. Ang sabi nga po sa Tagalog ay ganito, nang makita niya ang napakaraming tao, nahabag siya sa kanila sapagkat sila ay nangangamba at nanlulupaypay na gaya ng mga tupa na walang pastor. And look who came to them. Sino yung nahabag? Who identified with these people na nangangamba at nanlulupaypay? Sino ang nakidama sa kanila? The eternal Son of God. Sa pamamagitan ng kanyang incarnation, ng kanyang pagkakatawang tao, nagawa po niya na makita ang mga tao na maramdaman niya yung pagkahabag niya sa mga taong ito na nangangamba at nanlulupaypay sapagkat naranasan po niya ang pagiging tao, fully man. Kaya makita po niyo yung kanyang pakikidama, yung identification with the marginalized, with the lonely. Pero hindi po natapos sa identification na, uy, nadadama ko, nahahabag ako sa inyo. Higit pa po sa identification, we can also see the participation. Yung kanyang being, the whole being participating to the needs of the people. Tingnan po ninyo itong isang halimbawa ng participation in the lives of the marginalized ni Jesus Christ because of the incarnation. Kasi kung wala kang incarnation, He cannot participate in the lives of the marginalized. Mateo 8:26. Ito po ang sinabi sa atin. Sinabi niya sa kanila, bakit kayo natatakot o kayong maliliit ang pananampalataya? Kaya't bumangon siya at sinaway ang mga hangin at ang dagat at nagkaroon ng lubos na kapayapaan. We can see here the participation of Jesus. He was with them in the boat. Yun po yung kwento dito. Nagkaroon po ng malaking bagyo, hangin, bagyo, halos lumubog po sila. Kaya ang ginawa ng ating Panginoong Jesus, He was with them. He participated in their where they were at. At ang ginawa niya, bumangon po siya, sinaway niya ang mga hangin at ang dagat at nagkaroon ng lubos na kapayapaan. Hindi lang po yan. Makikita rin po natin sa account ng pag-resurrect niya kay Lazaro. Sabi po ng John 11:11. We can see here the participation of Jesus. Pagkatapos ito'y sinabi niya sa kanila, si Lazaro nating kaibigan ay natutulog, ngunit ako'y pupunta roon. That's the participation. Ako'y pupunta roon upang gisingin siya. This is the importance of the incarnation. Ito ang kahalagahan po ng pagkakatawang tao ng ating Panginoong Hesus because He can identify through His feeling with the people that He was ministering with. And He can participate. His physical presence will be there. Ako'y pupunta roon. And this is Jesus in the incarnation, identifying with the people, with the need of the people, with the feeling of the people, nakikidama at nakikiisa, nakikiisa, nakikiramay. At makikita po natin mga kapatid, hindi po naging sapat lamang na, nadadama ko ang inyong nadadama. Nakikisali ako sa inyong nadadama sa inyong sitwasyon. Pero meron pa pong isa upang mabuo ang incarnation ng eternal Son. At ito po yun. Hindi lamang identification, hindi lamang participation, kundi the full-blown manifestation ng paggawa ng incarnation, the action, the doing, yung paggawa. At makikita po natin ang isang halimbawa na narito po sa Mateo 20:14. Sabi doon, pagdating niya sa pangpang, nakita niya ang napakaraming tao. Nahabag siya sa kanila at pinagaling niya ang mga may sakit sa kanila. Mga kapatid, nakikita po niyo yung action. Nahabag? Okay. Is it enough na mahabag, makidama, na tayo ay mag-participate? Pumunta tayo? Hindi, talagang he took something. He did something. Pinagaling niya ang may sakit sa kanila. This is action. This is doing something, not only seeing something, but doing something about it. And this is the incarnation of Jesus Christ. Mga kapatid, malalim po ang pagkakatawang tao. At sabi ko nga po sa inyo, I will not just simply talk about the classical doctrine of incarnation, kundi more on the implications. Yung itinuturo sa atin ng pagkakatawang tao, and it is a deep teaching. The incarnation is a deep teaching, malalim na pagtuturo po at pag-aaplikasyon, pagbibigay ng aplikasyon ang incarnation. It involves a genuine relationship to see the freedom and the salvation of man. Kaya mga kapatid, As you again listen and use the word incarnation, every time na marinig po niya ang salitang incarnation, think about these three. And as we prepare for part 2, mahalaga pong maunawaan natin yung highlights ng incarnation, which is identification. Christ identifies with us. Jesus identifies with us. As our high priest, naramdaman niya ang naramdaman natin. He identifies with us. In the incarnation, as one of the highlights of the incarnation, he participated in the lives of the marginalized, of the oppressed, of the needy, of the fearful. Not only identifying with them, but participating with them. And lastly, action, doing something to make a difference, to change the situation if necessary. Kapatid, next week po ay tingnan natin ang aplikasyon pa ng incarnation natin pinag-uusapan. And we will have part 2, yung incarnational mission or theology na tinatawag po natin. Yung panawagan o yung pagwawangis na gampanin ng iglesia. Kung ginawa ito ng ating Panginoong Jesus sa kanyang incarnation, paano naman magkakaroon ng incarnation pagkakatawang tao ang iglesia? Well, are you a little bit confused or intrigued? Pagkakatawang tao, the incarnation of the church, part 2, pag-usapan po natin yan at kung ano ang ating magagawa na pagwawangis bilang gampanin ng iglesia dito sa mundo. Because incarnational has something to do with the work of God in the world. Muli po ay dito po muna natin tatapusin ang una nating part ng ating pag-aaral na ito at ating pong tutuloy susunod. Nagpapasalamat pong patuloy ang inyong lingkod. Nagbibigay ng papuri sa Diyos, Brother Jonathan Orellasa. Hanggang sa muli.